We are looking at the draft now. It looks like game number 2 is going to be a Rus versus English matchup. So presumably Gorge, right? Oh, it is. We are going to be heading into Gorge here as soon as the draft moves his obnoxious face out of our way. English versus Rus, though, I think this is the interesting part. Like this matchup is this is a matchup where both players can actually just do 2 TC kind of boom builds. I'm trying to think who's favored here. I know you've been playing with English a lot and experiencing English a lot. Have you noticed someone having an advantage over the other here?
I feel like Rus does pretty well against English, but that's just because I'm very biased against Rus, not because it's an indication of skill. My lowly conqueror knowledge does not explain anything that might happen in these games. But I feel that English with the king opening for now, since the king is getting nerfed next patch. Guys, if you are molding about English on the ladder, don't worry, the king is going to take longer to come out, but not yet. So I do believe with that opening, you still have that power. You do have the ability to keep Rus back, so they also are forced to, if they go for that 2 TC build, they won't have the easy access of punishing you for your 2 TC. So I don't know. I feel like it could be pretty even going for the king. I'm not a dirty king enjoyer. I'm a dirty longbow enjoyer. So Rus beats me every time.
My hopes is that Themos thinks outside the box a little here. Like, I don't want this to just be a fast castle build. There has been some interesting developments where a few players discovered English horsemen play really well with Abiv kings because you scale them in mass, heal them, and rotate. It's kind of weird to say that against Rus, but like realistically, you know, if you could get maybe like a Longbow Horseman battalion together, or just use Horsemen to go for like fast castle, that could be a really big edge for the English. And that also gives you a blocker towards greedy TC for the Rus. So one thing that I do like about Rus on this map is quite often you'll be given these spawns where either a boar or a deer are right in the corner, and you can, unlike any other civ really, wall off yourself because you know in the early game no one's going to break a 2500 HP structure, and you don't really want to be building longbows first as the English in this matchup anyway.
Yeah, this is one of those very unique maps that you talked about a little bit earlier, being a late game map. It forces you into the late game because of the easy walling and the tree lines. But I think both civilizations want that. The problem is you have Kiljardi.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know. Kiljardi doesn't want that. This man is not a man who wants to be here for a long time. He's here for a good time. So he's gonna get his 2 TC. I feel the 2 TC. Then he's going to end the game in castle. I don't think we're going to sit here for a long game. Kiljardi, like you said, it's in the name.
Ooh, yeah, but for a guy who likes to kill in the game, like he's delaying his kill timing here. Look at the miss macro. 550 resources because he teched wheelbarrow first. He didn't want to cancel it. It's kind of a cardinal sin, right? You're giving an advantage, and even crazier is the advantage is going to be aggro. Themos going for the council hall build here.
That is totally unexpected, I'm sure, for Kiljardi as well. So we do see the wooden fortress going on top of the stone, which means he's most likely going to try to go for a second TC, but longbows could punish this.
Exactly. The Kremlin cannot protect that because it's a forward spawn and you can't walk past, because if you go further past, you're not buffing your wood line. So sticky predicament for Kiljardi. And another issue is you just saw with how much he's struggling with gold and going wheelbarrow, he doesn't have enough gold to open with a knight to block. That's a really big deal here. I think he kind of hurt himself a little bit with his delayed timing. You know, realistically, the way it works with Rus is if you have the resources, start pumping wheelbarrow, and then monitor close to completion. Do I have enough gold for tech when I have 400 food? If the answer is no, most players will just tell you you should cancel it, right? Because Rus is very much about timing. Getting that TC 30 seconds quicker allows you to potentially be more greedy. Getting a knight out 30 seconds quicker is insane. But instead, I think Themos may have been given an unexpected edge on the opening here.
And this is now because Themos has longbows, and you guys know those things have insane range.
But this is weird as well. Look at Themos' resources.
He's not getting ready to make longbows. He's just ready to age up.
Is this a full bait? Because like I can't think of many reasons you'd have free on gold.
Oh, he's getting upgrades. He's 100% getting upgrades.
You think he's going upgrades immediately?
I think he's going up. I think he's going eco upgrades immediately.
True.
The thing is, I would have expected him to put one more villager on food at least, just to be able to get those initial longbows out.
That's my thought, yeah.
So I've been told, as long as you can get your first 2 longbows out, you can do the same type of harassment as you would with 20. You just need to use them and stop that second TC. Now with that is a lot of villagers on stone, and this is probably because Kiljardi saw, hey, we are going to be facing longbows. I might need these at the speed of light. So I would not be surprised if he puts that second TC very close to his base.
Yeah, it's probably going to be on the tree line, right, behind the Kremlin. I think you have to do that. There's nothing else nearby you could grab, unfortunately. But Themos, when the plan starts to reveal itself, it is going to be... No, you can't go... There's no way you do men-at-arms here.
No.
I'm still looking at that gold, Marika. It's getting concerning.
Yeah, that's a lot of gold. I'm waiting for the wheelbarrow and the
for anything?
double broadaxe.
Right.
What are we getting?
Because this isn't blacksmith techs, because if it was, like, it takes a minute to get a blacksmith tech and 125 gold. So you wouldn't need 340 in advance. Maybe he was worried that he was going to be pushed off by an opening knight. But when you open spear longbows, your concern should kind of alleviate a bit, right? Because it should be very hard for an initial knight to get in like that.
And this second TC is putting down, it's not as safe as I would have expected it to be, but it's not going to be as punished because there's not enough longbows out here. He doesn't have any units to do anything with it, but sure. Now the villages are going to be pulled back one by one. Oof, this feels so dirty.
His eco isn't that big yet. So he does pull the militia. This is smart. You need to invest all the villagers, put the militia in with the scouts to push away. Themos has got more longbows coming though. Remember, they get bonus damage against light melee, so the militia will only buy Kiljardi about maximum 10 seconds here.
The 10 seconds might be all he needs. If he loses a villager or two, it might not be the end of the world. It's not great, but, you know, it could have been worse. And the villager gets out. 0 villager kills in all of this. That is a big win for Kiljardi, but those are very wounded villagers. They are not going to be running around the map very easily without being punished for it. Those longbows can punish those berry bulls.
Exactly. Good idea there. Like, you know, it's not free, it's exploitable. And Kiljardi, check this, man. You've already seen Spearman coming. You saw the first one arrive, but he hasn't got enough gold income. He can't just go knights. He has to go horsemen here.
And that's the unfortunate part of when you allow your opponent to just get that map control as Rus. You do have that amazing advantage at the start of the game, where you do have all this free gold from killing the bounty. But now it's that slow moment. He's getting double broadaxe now as well, and he's getting his survival techniques very nice. And Themos is holding that 450 gold. Oh, and one goes down.
Sniping there.
A little bit of a poke here and there. Very nice.
Now, Themos still has very big questions to answer around that gold. I'm getting more and more concerned as we're about to break 500. It seems nitpicky, right? But it's like, think if that was food and wood. How many more longbows would you have right now?
Maybe he's just got... I feel like this is where we can start speculating. Maybe he's just Imperial rushing at this point. I'm joking. Of course, guys, he's not Imperial rushing. He's making more spearmen, so he's using his food. But I have no idea.
I mean, he's a 15,000 DPI gamer. Do we really even know what he could do next? It's kind of wild, man. I think he's just kind of tunnel visioned a bit. Like, this happens, right? Like, you remember he's on LAN. He's against a very talented player. Kiljardi's no pushover. He doesn't make games ever easy in the first 20 minutes. I'm wondering if Themos just kind of, like, maybe blanked at first. But we are starting to see food being saved up now.
So he might be going for that castle.
Yeah.
He did lose a villager to the border. So rest in peace to the villager. But at least the funny thing is, you usually expect Rus to be out on the map going for these animals. But seeing English like that is just so refreshing, because they're usually the civilization that goes for the farm transition. But Themos says, you know what? I'm playing against Rus. They go for the animals. I go for the animals.
Yeah, and I'm weighing up whether this was intentional all along from Themos, because it's a very unorthodox approach if that's the case, right? Like, gathering gold with free on the ford that constantly, like, you know, usually you see people scale gold like that when they're scared of being raided, but then usually the logic is if you're going to be raided, you want to get your gold quickly and safely. So it's a very creative approach from Themos. This should be like King's Palace though, right? And I've not really been inspired by King's Palace builds at the moment compared to White Towers.
The problem is, as well, your opponent already had his second... Oh my gosh, we just don't understand this man's brain. It's too big for us.
This is cool. This is actually really cool now. So I'm glad he made this right choice. Like, realistically, if you want a TC, go back for it later. I think this is something that's kind of slept on, is if you're rushing castle, the big advantage point isn't let's get a TC. The big advantage point is get the relics, think about TC later, right? Because like the relics can return their value quicker, and also that's a permanent investment. You can come back for villages and fix the issue later. So pretty cool. I don't think I've seen anyone try this against Rus particular.
Oh, this is not a Rus that's drowning in resources. You can see that's a
True.
very, very hungry Rus. In terms of gold, he's using his gold as he gets them. And while that's great and all, he doesn't have a lot to make units with. But the thing is, that's a lot of archers. And like we know, enough archers do kill a men-at-arm. These longbows, if he loses these longbows, that's going to be so difficult to come back from. He is going to lose them.
There's no escaping this. He's on the wrong side. He's got this lower moving units. He'll trade out as best he can, but and he's doing no damage here. The interesting part is Kiljardi, like, does he try and gun it now, right? Like, tech up just triggered. It's a forward white tower, but there's something scary about Themos' placement here. Look at this back line and think about the lack of protection there. If you ever bypass this defense, realistically, the only thing Themos protects right now is gold.
The thing is, he's going for knights. He wants to be the man controlling the pace. And we would have expected to at least see a blacksmith to make sure that those knights can take an extra beating.
Yeah.
And yes, he's just leaving himself open for raids. You can see this now being on the ball, being outside on the map. It's just very risky when you know that you've lost a lot of your army already. But let's see what this first knight can do.
I am starting to wonder if Themos floating all that gold in the first place was him trying to see if it was a knight opening. And if it wasn't, then he wanted to go castle. It's like a very creative and different way to approach it. I wouldn't have seen coming. We could see it all right. Like Kiljardi, I don't think he saw it coming either. But now that he's faced with knights, you know, do you have to build spearmen here? Like, you kind of want to vomit saying that against the English. Having to build spears is the biggest nightmare for anyone playing against English.
It is quite a nightmare. Yeah, you made a great joke without even realizing. Oh, damn, KP. Now, I don't think that Themos has the ability to do damage to Kiljardi, though. The thing is, his resources are pretty safe now. You could have seen at the top there with the gold, he did put a tower down there. He realizes, okay, I need to catch up a little bit with the resources and go for castle myself. But the amount of archers, I think, will carry him through. And he did go for that spearman that you talked about.
One spearman.
It's one.
To hold back all those knights.
It's only 4. Yes, that's going to be a very hard fight. Ooh.
6.
And now slowly we know what Rus needs to do. We need to go on the rest of the map. And this is when it gets hard for Rus, because they don't have that food source that English does. Well, this English doesn't either.
Hunting time. The ball has been mostly gathered. Themos has got undermesh on the way, but remember that dive into the main is starting to come in before that tech's complete. He has to wait. Now, what's kind of interesting about this, though, is Themos with map control. I think there's maybe one key detail being skipped, especially for a guy sitting on 1,000 resources in reserve. When are we going for relics?
I don't think he had relics on mind. He was just focused on getting those knights out.
So this is like an English Burgrave, then?
This is an English Burgrave, yes, yes. And I honestly feel a little bit inspired. The 1 TC White Tower English Burgrave build, yes. That feels kind of nice. You need to get that blacksmith, so making sure, and I know it's coming in now, but by now, if you had +2, imagine the damage that you could do. But these knights are just running through. They don't want to fight against the militia, because you guys know militia, they're fake units. They barely cost anything. They're going to disappear anyway. We want to get down to the juicy meat of villages. And they do get 1, but you might need to do a lot more. Another one goes down, but keep in mind, he's fighting against a 2 TC Rus, and these are expensive. He doesn't have a lot of these left. The problem is as well, he's not farm transitioned. He's got a few.
Raid on the other side, though. Even idle time is big here because that farm transition you mentioned, you need to be on the wood hard. Turns out the villagers are going to try to defend themselves, but I mean, this could actually just buy enough idle time that it's kind of worth it for Kiljardi. Remember, he's alleviated pressure other side. High trade house has now gone up, and immediately he queues up the crossbows out of that double archery range he'd made earlier.
And that is just the powerful part of the game where you transition to the crossbow mass. We've seen this from top players time and time again. You get that crossbow mass and there's nothing that go through you. And you see the archers there to support it as well. You're just not going to have any fears. You're just going to be able to fight any army that comes towards you, especially when they're made of knights.
It's a golden solution against English as well, right? Like, if knights stop working, what's his transition? Men-at-arms. So you can build crossbows, you counter both ahead of time. Eco lead is starting to get big, and the other worry I have of Themos not going for relics is like, you've just opened up the field for Kiljardi, right? Like, you only have 9 knights, you can't now dive the enemy eco and block all relics. And if you are going to block relics, you should be picking them up yourself. So I think Themos is a really cool creative build, and we've seen this white tower build like kick without a second TC. But I am a bit worried that unless he can now do significant eco damage, this is going to start to snowball for the Rus.
And the problem is also who he's playing against. Kiljardi is used to people that's being aggressive to him. He's actually used to it because he's the one usually doing this creative gameplay towards other players.
He's vaccinated against it, right?
He's got those antibodies all around. He is going to be able to defend any damage that comes his way. You can see he's also doing the wham walls very far forward, making sure that he controls the pace of the game. So we do see some alarms going off all around.
Militia being pulled. Knights are going to force some idle time, but you just can't afford to dive this area, right? The Kremlin's actually a substantial defense in this area. Its base damage is high due to castle turrets, so even Knights feel it in the dive. And Themos right now, he finally sees it. Monks are on the way, but the question mark is it going to be too late? Do you actually have enough units to constrict your opponent? Kiljardi has a double military advantage, and he's starting to break out on the flanks.
Yeah, at this point, I don't feel like Kiljardi is going to allow him the map control he needs to pick up those relics. And with 14 knights, yeah, they're great. Oh my goodness, and he finds some damage. He will get a bunch of villages here, but
that halving. That's criminal.
Oh, when he gets another bunch. This might be... How many is that? That's 10 villages going down. 11.
It's funny I realize it. Dude, the pings are just everywhere. That was remarkable. Themos strikes in 2 locations at once, gets decent damage done here, shrinks the eco lead, and now has the first relic on the way home simultaneously.
And just as I said that Kiljardi will not allow him this map control, we see that Kiljardi's like, I will punish you too. The archers inside the base, making sure that all these English villagers are running for their lives. But keep in mind, English units attack faster under their own TC.
Yeah, so Kiljardi just kind of has this weird shift to the other side, but that's because he wants to check the back resources, because he thinks maybe there's some sort of gathering or wood lines down there. He knows it's not the deer, because Kiljardi actually is a snake. He's taking the deer from Themos' corner in the south side.
That is disgusting. I can't believe he's so aggressive. He's just...
Even when gathering eco, he's aggressive, right? I always describe this as like, you see him and Vortex fight on the ladder. They're the 2 most aggressive players we have in this game. Like, he out-aggroes Vortex. That's how insane Kiljardi can be with this. But look what he's found. Big hit on the wood line. We'll be able to get away in time. That white tower is a sore point. But notice Kiljardi is now starting to target relics. First warrior monk coming out.
And the problem is, you can see these knights are now just going down. He's not microing these knights exactly like they need to be controlled here to, you know, get through to that army mass. I feel like if he had all these units together here, all those knights on top of them, maybe he could have put Kiljardi in a very compromising position.
Yeah, but what knights, right? Like, this is what I was worried about, is this is you start to turn into a macro game where, like, you are 20 villages down, right? Like, you have to kind of be realistic about the detail. That's why I was really, really stringent about the monastery point and how it needed to come fast. It's like, that was Themos' booster, right? His little pack that kept him in. He has at least got them on a delay, but now you're talking about a 20 eco lead even after you kill this many workers, and the walls are now going up. So the potential to raid for Themos is quickly starting to disappear.
At this point, Themos is just trying to get a knight through here and there so that he can get on top of villages. But you see 2 of those very expensive knights going down, and now 1 making it through. I don't think that 1 is going to be able to do the damage he needs to make a miracle happen here.
And this is wild. Like, when do you see men-at-arms from Rus in this matchup? Like, usually it's English moving men-at-arms. Instead, we actually have Kiljardi realizing, now I just need a bolt that dives the white tower and ends the game.
And the thing is, he doesn't even need to dive the white tower. He can just walk around the white tower and kill everything. That's exactly what you mentioned about... Yes. That's exactly what you mentioned about the forward white tower. The moment that the white tower is forward, it doesn't really serve its purpose. The white tower is there to protect your greedy decisions as an English player. And he was greedy, but he's not protecting his greed.
No, because look where the farms are. The farms are not protected at all. Luckily, not all of them are operational because Themos has lost too many villages back here. He's about to lose even more, down under 50 villagers, while Kiljardi now has a 1.5x lead in eco.
And I want you to take a note of how many resources Kiljardi is floating, and then we know what is about to come next. We said Kiljardi is not going to look for a long game. We see the trebuchet being queued up now. He might just look to end it right here.
Wow. He's not hunting in that corner there, right? Like, there's a bunch of villages Themos has on the west side that could easily be sniped there, but it seems that Themos will dodge death in that moment, but not for long. Double forwards his workshop now. He wants that white tower gone, and he wants match point on the horizon.
the best part of this is that he's building it in the middle of the map. I feel like it's a type of, hey, I realize you are stuck back there. Let me just explain it to you a little bit better. That's exactly what he's doing. And now Themos trying to... Oh, he found that little hunting cabin.
Yeah, it's interesting to see him go back Knights this late. But I think the thought process is he can't fight direct. He's hoping he can raid eco, right? The question mark now is it too late for that? How quickly can you get in the base before Kiljardi breaks you?
The problem is he doesn't have an answer to these trebuchets, and he won't have any anytime soon. He would need to get a Springhold or two, but the problem is you're playing against that massive of an army as well. He has the men-at-arms. They're not even going to care if there's a Springhold. We can see the horsemen also being queued up from Kiljardi, so they're just going to snipe it out.
When was the last time you saw an English player not try to keep his white tower up?
I haven't seen.
I don't think that's a myth. That's not a real thing,
no,
right? Like Themos is pretending. I mean, dude, he's letting the one defense fall. He has nothing to contest it right now. He has this big blob to try and address in the center. He's trying to raid around the back of the Knights now. In fact, they're idle on the high ground, but I think Kiljardi already sees up there and is reacting with his own troops. He does. He baits them in, so all of a sudden Themos' idea of a backstab to deal with the trebs doesn't work out. White tower is now down, and the floodgates have opened.
And only a miracle Wololo can save this, but Kiljardi does not. He doesn't believe that way. He's just gonna take the W. And just like that, Kiljardi, a very dominant 2-0. Hot damn.
Match point on the horizon already. Kiljardi doing what we expected of him. And, you know, looking back at that game, I mean, Themos, I wonder if the way that he gathered gold as well set him up for a way that there was only one way out. Like, you know, you said at the time, what if that was a few extra lombos? What if the lombos come out quicker? Maybe he has a little bit more pressure there. I like the idea of the white tower build, though. I think that there's kind of a little bit too much reliance on 2TC, but there are some cool builds. I think with a little bit of optimization, Themos' build maybe could strike a bit harder. But you can't take anything away from Kiljardi so far in the series. He's just had Themos' number time and time again.
Yeah, if Themos maybe had a few more there, he would have been able to pick a villager off at the start. As you guys saw, that those villagers got so low, but just not low enough. And that is the power of, you know, Rus. They will get that second TC up, and then it will continue to grow, the population graph. It is a very difficult thing to stop. It's that snowball, guys. It's the snowball. And that is exactly what I'm expecting to see in this next game as well. Kiljardi knows how to use these advantages. He knows that Themos might not be ready to punish when he is being greedy. And that, I'm excited to see the next matchup that they have chosen.